Welcome to the Tangent Gentlemen, where each week Scott and I start with a topic from the previous episode, then we see where the conversation takes us. Along the way, we'll have questions, ideas, and disagreements that spark tangents that our buddy Chris keeps track of, and at the end of the episode, we'll decide on next week's topic from those tangents. And our topic this week, Scott, are people born good?
Yes. How you doing, Brad? Having a good week?
Yeah, I'm good. It's been hot. It's been really hot, man.
Yeah. It's been pretty warm and humid here, too, as well. So,
yeah. We had one day, 107 degrees.
Wow. That's really hot.
Yeah.
That is really... In North Dakota, too. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This was a fun one for me to research, because I thought I was going to go down one path, and I ended up going down a totally different path.
Okay.
So I don't know what you...
Well, here's what I thought about. Let's start with this. Let's just answer the question. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we're either going to say yes or no. Yes, being people are born good. No, as people are not born good, which may not necessarily mean bad. But all right, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3. Yes.
No.
All right, that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping for that.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
I don't think people are born good.
So you don't think people are born good? Okay.
No.
You want to start?
But I also don't think they're born not good either.
So you think neutral? Yeah. Is it neutral? Or what is it?
Yeah.
Neutral.
Yeah. Neutral.
People are born neutral. Okay.
So what I started to do, originally I was going to go down this sort of philosophy of what is good. You know, what historically, what do people say is good? This is good behavior. This is what good people are. And then what I ended up getting into what I became more immersed in was, what does it mean to be a good person? Like trying to define what is a good person. Mm-hmm. And one of the recurring themes in that was an analogy of, it's like a muscle. It's like working out. You have to work at being good.
So being good is performing actions that are good then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So what about like an inherent or a natural goodness that might not have anything to do with actions?
But how would one know if you're good? That's just what you think? Oh, Brad thinks good things.
Yeah, so
otherwise thinks good things.
So man, I kind of went down. It really got like into my faith and into my beliefs and things of that nature. And so all right, so there's some mysterious divine presence.
Okay.
Right? We've kind of talked about that before. And call it call it whatever you'd like to call it. What do we want to call it, this podcast? Divinity.
Faith.
Okay, we'll call it divinity. So there's this divinity out there. And for me, that there's a part of us that is one with this divinity. Okay, and it's not. It's spirit. All right, it's not our body. If you talk about the Christian tradition, in the image of God.
Right.
But it's not. It's not a bodily image. It's we're talking spirit. So you got this divinity, and it's outside of time and space. It's outside of our worldly presence that we're in now. Man, I'm going in deep right away, ain't I? So you got this divinity outside of time and space, and there's a part of this divinity that is in us that is outside of time and space. So it's been there. It's eternal. It's been there since the beginning. The divinity's been there since the beginning, whatever that is, and it's eternal. And there's a part of us that's that too. So when we come when we are conceived and we end up coming out of the womb, I think that human is as close to oneness with this divinity and the divinity in that human as it's ever going to be at that moment in birth. So that's why I think that person is good, because I think this divinity is good, or whatever you want to call,
Right.
You hear it called goodness, or you hear love used a lot, or things like that. But whatever this this divinity is, this goodness, that newborn is coming from that, and is as close to that as he or she will ever be in this body as it's going through life.
So we only get worse as we experience life?
I think that divinity is always with you, so you don't get worse. I think that living in the world makes you forget what you came from if you don't make a really strong effort to remember where you came from.
Okay, so if we go with this idea, like, to me, in my lifetime, I think one of the best people, one of the most, the embodiment of good, a person like Mother Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seemed to completely give of herself for the care of other people.
Yeah.
So would we say that she was a person that was the least affected and was the most like her newborn self? Would that be consistent with what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. And I think,
but to that point, we say that because of her actions. Her actions define her goodness, right?
Yeah, I think so. But I think she also, I think if you got to talk to her, she probably daily makes an effort to connect to that divinity,
to that day zero person. Yeah. So this is a completely unrelated, but not really. If you could have a list of people you would like to have a conversation with,
she'd be on there.
Would she be on that list?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, definitely.
Me too, without a doubt. Yeah.
But okay, here's another. Let's make this a little more personal experience type thing.
Okay.
Were you in the room when your sons were born?
Yes.
Okay. We've talked about different things, like, with art and music and,
Yeah.
You feel that same thing in there when a baby's born.
Yeah.
Like there's something that, and you see people act kind of the same way. It's kind of like people kind of like there's a reverence around newborns. You speak softly, you kind of forget about the world. They're the center of attention.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But then another part of me was thinking, is goodness the right word? Or are they born good, or is it more just like pure and innocence? Does that equate to goodness? Purity, innocence? Does that equate to goodness?
I don't at all.
Not by your definition of actions, for sure.
No. So we can get. I don't want to get away from this conversation, but I did like come up with two different places and kind of distilled down, like, these are two definitions or two attributes of being good. So we can get to that if we want.
Yeah.
But to this point, I do like the idea. Like, I used to argue all the time with people. You remember when, like, I think I first learned of this in, like, education classes, this idea of, I think it's called tabula rasa, the blank slate.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's a little bit like what you're talking about. That when an infant, and you can define your starting point, we'll say birth. At birth, that entity is the blank slate, but not just the blank slate with maximum amount of goodness.
Yeah.
Because of their proximity to the divinity.
See, when I think of blank slate, I would think more along your line of thinking people are probably born neutral.
Well, yeah, but okay. I see that. Yeah. I guess I think of it as the blankness, the blank slate is the maximum of divinity. And I don't know. So then so then life is a deficit model, right? You only take away from your divinity. I don't know if you only take away, but you have to work to get back to that divinity. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about faith, like one of the things, this has gotten real deep real quick, but, people always say to me, you know, like, do you believe that do you believe in Jesus? I'm like, well, historically, a person existed. I mean, Jesus of Nazareth existed. There's historical evidence that he existed. And was he the Son of God? And I always go back to, I think he was the most godlike of any person that we kept sort of some historical records on. Like he always tried to do the right thing. Which to me, if I go with your idea of divinity and your divinity at birth, or your connection to divinity at birth, that's why he was different than me and everybody else I know. Okay. Because he always tried to represent that divinity to the point of willing to say, look, I feel like I need to do this thing. It's going to be really hard. They're probably going to kill me for it, but I'm going to do it because it's the right thing to do. And that for me, that's one of the things. I just think people that do the right thing in really tough situations, I have such tremendous admiration for those people.
Yeah.
So, like, I've become a huge fan of Muhammad Ali over the years because I feel like he saw some things that were just wrong, and he said, I can't accept that. Probably knowing there were going to be significant consequences to his career, particularly as a boxer.
At an age when most of us are really trying to fit in.
Yeah.
And just you know, to make the decisions he made at his age at that time is what's really impressive, you know. Yeah. No, I agree. You know, thinking along those lines, though, what you're talking about, though, I do think, you know, I do think that, I don't know if oneness is the right word. That's what I keep wanting to say, oneness. And you know, this is one of those things, we had a conversation, I can't remember what topic was, but when you start talking about, you know, divinity or spirit or things like that, it's there's no words or ideas or images or anything to adequately express or say what you're trying to say. So it's very difficult to talk about. But there's this oneness that I think if you've ever caught a glimpse or a taste, or, you know, here I'm trying to come up with words, but if you ever caught a taste or a glimpse of this oneness with this divinity, I think those people know that it's real and that there is this, you know, this presence there. But even those people, you know, even Mother Teresa, there's some people that can explain it and make you feel it better than others, but there's still it's still like indescribable, incomprehensible, you know. Yeah. But there is a oneness there, and I think if you go with my idea as a baby being as close to that oneness as it's ever going to be in life, then life starts happening. You know, then you start growing up and you have to learn to navigate this world, and you start getting involved with worldly things, and we all have to, you know, and unless you're going to be a hermit in a cave somewhere, and those things all, I think, contribute to us. And again, forgetting is the word I use, but it doesn't adequately describe what I'm trying to say. Forgetting about this place we came from. Yeah. So that's kind of the path I took, and I took it all the way through this life and these bodies we're in, and thought about the end of life. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, I haven't had a lot of people close to me die. And I was trying to think. I don't think I've ever been with somebody taking their last breath, but I think you kind of feel the same thing at the other end on the deathbed as somebody's going back. somebody's going back. It's a terribly sad time, but there's still this thing, this presence, these feelings, and this awe and this
So I
respect that you feel at that end too.
I will share this story. This is one of the most. I may have shared this with you before, but this is one of, for me personally, this is one of the hardest and most empowering, and I guess I'll call it like right things I've ever been associated with. So I had a brother. He was 5 years older than me, and we were close. Mm-hmm. And he got cancer, and it was a mess. I mean, it was hard. It was not pleasant. And his wife and he said to me, "Hey, you understand this a lot more than me. You understand the science. You understand the medicine. Can you kind of be my guide and help me make decisions throughout this whole process?" So, when he met with the oncologist and here's the prognosis, these are your treatment options, I was very involved in that. And along the way, he got sicker, he got better, he got sicker, and he got to a place where it seemed as if it was going a certain direction. And he and I had a great conversation about, and I can tell you exactly what night it was. We were watching Memphis, Kansas in the national championship game. We both love college basketball. We were watching that game. And he said to me, it went into overtime. And I just remember thinking, this is probably the last time we're ever going to watch a basketball game together. And I wish this would just go on forever. And at that night, he said to me, "I'm ready. I think I'm ready. I'm ready. Not I think. I'm ready for what's next. I don't know what's next, but I'm ready." So that was, March. Fast forward to May. He was a huge Beatles fan. We were at this Beatles festival in Louisville, and he got really sick at the festival. And that weekend, he went to the hospital, and the doctors came and said, we got to do, these are our choices. We can do nothing. This is the path it's going to go. We can try one thing. We think it might sort of reset his body chemistry, but it may not. And I said, well, let's do the reset. Let's try to attempt to reset, and we'll try it for 72 hours. And I reached out to a good friend of mine, this is a doctor, and I said, "Hey, I'm debating on this. What do you think?" And he said, "Well, I understand why you want to do that, but you have to know that at some point it's not your decision. Like the decision will be made beyond you.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with it."
Yeah.
And you know me, I don't give up power easily. But I thought about it a lot. You could say I prayed about it. I don't know that I would use that verb because I don't like some of the connotations of that.
Yeah.
But I thought about it for a few hours, and I decided, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then that went, and then 72 hours later, it was like, okay, well, this is not getting better. Do you want to make this decision? And I said, okay, yeah. I thought, let's make this as a decision. We're going to do this. We're going to take him off all this machines and stop this treatment. But I want to be there. And I was with him when he died. And it's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Like, if you can imagine, like the highest top and the lowest bottom simultaneously occurring.
Yeah.
Because the earthly me was devastated, truly devastated that I made a decision and my brother died. The spiritual me was like, yeah, this is what you wanted me to do. You entrusted me to do this. And I hope I did what you wanted me to do. And that is, to me, to your point about oneness and divinity.
Yeah.
That's one of the times in my life when I really felt like this is a divine power.
So, yeah. So, is that what we're here for, you think? To go through this life, to go through these trials and tribulations that are going to help, going to make us forget where we came from, but the ultimate goal is to get back to where we came from?
Ooh, that's tough. I don't know. I don't know. So there's an author that I read several of his book, or a couple of his books. I like George Saunders.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I don't think so.
I haven't read his most recent book, but it gets at this idea a little bit. But one of his previous books, it was called Lincoln in the Bardo, which I never even knew this phrase Bardo. But Bardo is this idea, and I think it's maybe like it's not typical Christian. I think it may be sort of Buddhist in the origin, but it's basically this in-between space where one exists after they die, but before they go to the next, whatever the next plane is for them.
Kind of like purgatory type thing.
Kind of like purgatory, yeah. But like for me as a raised Catholic, purgatory has another, like a little bit more of a judgment implication.
Yeah.
That wasn't true for the Bardo. But this book was fascinating because it was called Lincoln in the Bardo. And it was about Abraham Lincoln. And his son died. He had a child that died. And when Lincoln died, he was in the Bardo with his son, even though those two events were separated by years. And it was just a fascinating book because it gets at this idea of how do we set the scale? How do we equate our experiences? How do we define where we are? And how do we move forward? Because for his son to move forward or out of the Bardo, and for him to move out of the Bardo, those were different events. And there were other people in the Bardo too that had their own paths. And it was just it was very trippy. I mean, it was one of these books that I read and I'm like, I need to take notes to figure out what the hell's going on. And I wish I was in sophomore English, so an English teacher and 12 other people, we could have this conversation because I think this is what this means, but I'm not exactly sure. But
that's most recent book. That's like anything you read that's talking about anything of spirit is that way. Don't you think so?
Sure.
Like it's really tough reading, but there's some people that can make you, that can kind of get you to this place where you're getting like a glimpse and a taste, and it's almost like you can almost feel.
Yeah.
There it is. No. Oh, now it's gone. There it is. Now it's gone. Yeah.
And see, that's where we talked about earlier experiences with this. I think there are so many, I think that's part of what art does.
Mm-hmm.
I think artists create things, whether that thing is a picture or a movie or a song, that gives us a glimpse of that. Gives us a glimpse of that continuity of our personal self or our terrestrial self, if you will, and the divine, our divine self.
Yeah.
And so that could be what goodness. I mean, I hadn't thought at all about what your definition. I mean, obviously, I didn't know what your definition was going to be or your description was going to be, but I do like it. The more I think about it, I really like the idea that because I think that is, like, I take great personal both celebration and comfort when I find myself circling around what you define as that good. You know?
Yeah.
Like when I'm in, like, like we talked about before, like if you're on a hike or if you're somewhere, I mean, I find it in big cities. You don't, but I do find it. I mean, I can think of it in the last 6 months. I was in Chicago, in downtown Chicago, just sitting in a park off Michigan Avenue. And there was like all this going on around me. And I just remember thinking, wow, there's a family. This may be their first time in Chicago. What joy they have.
Yeah.
There's people, waiting for their bus and their bus is coming. It was just a real sense of there's a good here,
Oh yeah.
Like, there's a joy here. There's a celebration here. So that was neat.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I have two. Do you have something else? Because I have two other.
Go ahead.
I want to click to.
I got all kinds of stuff. But
okay. So the one thing I found was sort of what are the attributes of being good.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pitch these to you and see what you think.
Okay.
The idea of empathy, both cognitive empathy, which is understanding another's perspective,
mm-hmm.
and emotional empathy, which is the ability to share emotions with other people. Compassion, kindness, which is respect and positivity and goodwill. Altruism, integrity, and inclusivity. Those are attributes of being good, according to one article I read.
The one that stands out to me the most is goodwill. I mean,
which is kindness, part of kindness.
Yeah. And I kind of, that's very closely related to intentions too. Good intentions, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, like sometimes something may happen that you didn't intend to happen, but if you had good intentions and a bad thing happened, that doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Yeah. Right.
So that kind of, the goodwill and good intentions kind of stands out to me in that.
Yeah. Another definition, I want to mention this too. Another definition that attributes of good, that they're similar, but some of them are a little bit different. Courage, like to be good, you have to be courageous. And I think this gets at your point about the divine, is a sense of transcendence, which is that spirituality of good. And I thought those were pretty good. And then that particular article, that author talked about goodness. They made this parallel to fitness, and that's where I went to my original article, that it can be developed through your choices, through your relationships, and your responses, which I think gets at kind of what you were talking about as far as what do you do in certain situations that makes you a good person, Yeah,
and I definitely could see where, if you exercise your goodness, it's going to get stronger.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So here's two thoughts. One I want to pitch, or just to get your sense of. This one article I read differentiated between being nice and being good. Do you see a distinction between those?
I do, but let me try to think. Okay, so I'm trying to think of an example where someone could be nice, but it might not be for the good. I have trouble coming up with a specific example, but to answer your question, yes, I do see a distinction between the two. What about you?
So I do too. I definitely do.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have stated it the way the article did, but this is what the article said, and I sort of agree, but I don't totally agree. If you're nice, you do things out of fear of being rejected, of negative perceptions of you. If you're good, you do things out of concern for the greater well-being.
Yeah. But the nice piece could probably be more for the other person too. Like I'm thinking like, not wanting to, for fear of the way the other person might respond if I don't do this certain thing that is considered nice. Not necessarily how I'm going to feel about it. I don't know.
Yeah. So the part for me that was interesting. So I happened to spend this weekend with a friend of mine, and he and his wife. We're both friends, obviously. And she and my wife, I think, are two of the nicest people that I know.
Mm-hmm. I don't know her, but I'd say Aaron is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think they are nice out of the fear of rejection.
No.
I kind of, I don't say resented, but I don't agree with that assessment of why they are nice. They are just genuinely nice because.
So I think that definition, that's not niceness though. Like if I'm just trying to kiss your ass just because I don't want to be rejected, I'm not being nice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
It's like the brown noser in the workplace.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You mean like me? Are you calling me out when I came into your office? No, I genuinely liked your ideas. I really did.
No, heck, I talk about that all the time, man. I told you. Yeah, I talk about that all the time. I never knew, to the end whether you liked my ideas or not, because you're going to play devil's advocate whether you liked it or not.
Yeah, I'll say 70% of the time I genuinely liked them, but I felt like somebody had to tell you no. Yeah, so I think okay. So here's a question. We're at 38. So, do you think you're a good person?
Me
This
personally,
is a question yeah,
I think I try to be, and so yeah, I think so.
yeah.
Do
I
you
agree.
think you
I
are?
think for
You
the
are,
most part,
man. Yeah, yeah.
for the most part, I think. I mean, I agree. I think you're a good person. For me personally, there are times when I don't know what there's just. I mean, I guess we all do this. We should do this, right? We should question why we do what we do. But there are, I have sort of blind spots where I'm like, yeah, I just don't like that about somebody. And I would think if you're a good person, you should find a way to like that,
Yeah.
to find a way to like that about somebody and figure out a way to navigate that. So,
Well, we're human, and we're
yeah,
navigating a world that's you know. I mean, I think that's I don't know why, but I think that's just to me that's just part of living. I don't think we should feel. I don't think we need to feel guilty about those things. If we go back to we have goodwill, we have good intentions.
yeah,
We don't want to harm other people.
right,
In any way intentionally. But yeah, I mean that kind of falls in line with the longer we go in this world. You think about that newborn baby. The concept we just talked about earlier is as that baby gets older and older and starts experiencing more and more of the world, that purity and innocence we're talking about, at some point gets lost. And it's kind of hard, it's kind of heartbreaking too. The first time your kid has some real world experience that just breaks their heart, it breaks your heart. When they start losing innocence and find out the world's not,
yeah, yeah.
You're not going to be treated all the time like mom and dad treat you. It's kind of it's kind of heartbreaking.
Well, I mean, you started out. You said something about when you were researching or thinking about this, you kind of got into your own spirituality and your own, faith tradition or faith formation or whatever. I think for me, I mean, one of the attributes of being Catholic is guilt. Like Catholics are really good. Like guilt is a big thing in Catholicism. You should feel bad about this. You should feel
it is,
and that
I think that's. I mean, I think that's a problem with a lot of. And I'm not bashing churches or religions, but so much of what's really taught, I know more about. I was raised in Christianity, so that's what I know most about. But even if you go with that, it's such a distorted view of what you hear on Sundays is such a distorted view of what's in the gospel.
Yeah.
Which basically is, God is this infinite and eternal love and mercy to us. Yeah. And a lot of times what you hear, like what you're talking about, is this like police officer or judge that's going to damn you to eternal pain. That's just so warped.
I want to tell this. This is a funny story. So we had a priest. It was actually the priest that married us. The priest that married us was at the church my wife grew up at, and then fast forward 20 years later, he ended up being the priest at our local church. And it was around, I can't remember when I want to say it was around like 2012. There was this thing, and you may remember this, but there was this Mayan calendar that predicted like this was going to be the end of days.
Yeah.
And people were a little bit like freaked out, like, oh, when we get to December 20th in 2012, that's it. That's like it's been foretold in these ancient calendars.
Was that the date?
It was something like that.
I think that was the date.
Yeah. And I was at church. I was at church that Sunday, and he was talking about, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but today's the last day because tomorrow's December 21st and we're done. It's over. And this is where he said, I don't know about, oh, no, well, he said, just so you know, that sense of a calendar and of a day and a date is so made up and so artificial. And it doesn't fit into the continuum of this, omniscient, eternal God. Like that's such an arbitrary thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried about tomorrow morning. I just think it's so arbitrary that we apply these physical, tangible things to this idea of this eternal, big picture, God.
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about. What we're talking about is not something that's not describable. It's incomprehensible.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And we're trying to view this through human senses.
And then he said, this is like, me, this pushed this guy like 7 levels up my evaluation sense. He goes, I just want to say that for me, I'm going to quote Michael Stipe of REM, because if it's the end of the world as we know it, I feel fine. And I was like, no, he didn't. He quoted REM from the pulpit. Wow, how cool is that? Yeah, so
that is pretty cool.
Yeah, so that was one for me. It was like, wow, that because that's where I go back to sort of through line of divinity, because I think Michael Stipe is an artist. I think musicians are artists.
Yeah,
and for him to have this, and I'm not saying that particular song is divine, but but to have that perspective that helps me understand my place. Yeah. In the whole, whatever universe continuum. I just think that's to me is kind of divine. That's a snapshot of divinity. So.
I totally agree. Any kind of art form, I think, can reach that. And sometimes the artist may not even know it. Just people in general, humans, when we talk about this being incomprehensible or indescribable and, no words are adequate, I think the other side of that is that's what makes it so easy for a lot of people to say it's foolishness or fantasy or imagination. Yeah. Because it's something we can't understand.
So you're a musician, you've been in bands, and like, do you find at times when you're playing, do you feel sort of this like conduit of good? Like, I am participating in the event that is just bringing such joy to this room. Because I'm not a musician, but I'm the recipient of the joy on the other side. Like when I see a live band and they're just jamming and we're all digging it, like that's a great thing. Yeah. And you're instrumental. You as the on-stage musician, you're instrumental in that. No pun intended. In that happening.
Yeah, I mean, you feel it's just like we talked about with it before. You get glimpses and taste and things of it, but it's not. I don't think it's ever going to be there all the time while we're here walking the earth. But you do feel it. Like sometimes everything can almost feel forced if you're performing. But other times it just feels like you're in a pocket and you feel this thing we're talking about with the crowd, and you feel it. You feel it in the whole place. Yeah, and it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, you hear artists say that, like being in the pocket, or even the athletes say that I'm just in the pocket. Yeah. Like that's just such a great metaphor. Yeah, because I'm just like I'm just in the groove. I'm not. I mean, I'm doing amazing things. I mean, I don't know if you saw the World Cup today, but Messi is like this amazing soccer player, and he's like, he's a guy who's known for scoring all these goals. Well, it wasn't working today. So he went to the outside, went to the left side, trying to pass into guys for other guys to score. It didn't work. With the right side, and 2 just like amazing crossing passes. And other guys, it's just like landed on their foot and they drilled it to score goals. And it's just like, what an amazing skill. And this is connection between 2 people. And for me as a fan to just say, wow. That's all I can say. Wow. Yeah. Just the ability to do that and let me celebrate. I mean, I don't really care about Argentinian soccer, but I kind of wanted England to win. But it was just amazing to see as a fan of sport. You know, like, wow, how do you, I mean, totally in the pocket. I mean, that's exactly what's going on, you know? So, yeah.
I got one more thing to share. I was sitting here thinking, should I share his name or not? I don't think he would mind, but they're kind of along the same lines we've been, I was just thinking about, I know somebody pretty well that I guess, you could call it a near-death experience. You know, made it to the firehouse with, you know, extreme anaphylactic shock, and they had to give him, you know, 2 or 3 epis to bring him back around. And, you know, he kind of talks about, he didn't want to go anywhere, but man, he was sure feeling peaceful.
Wow.
You know, he's like, you know, it was a very peaceful feeling, but I wasn't ready to leave.
Yeah. Well, so we've talked about this guy before, but my friend Greg, who has since passed away, he had a heart attack probably 7 or 8 weeks before he died. And we were talking about it afterwards. And we grew up in the same faith tradition. I mean, Catholic upbringing, and he ended up going a different path. And he said very similar. Like, I felt like I was at this place that was comfortable, but I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
I needed to come back. I needed to come back to what that was
wasn't
like.
quite ready. Yeah. It wasn't time.
Yeah.
You ready to bring Chris in on this?
Yeah. I'm sure he's going to have lots to say about our conversation tonight. I feel like we went way, I don't know. Well, where are we at on this? Are people good? What do you think?
I think we're born. I think we're born with this divinity. You know, we're born into it, but we start being presented challenges that encourage us to forget where we came from as we will go through life. And if you don't make some effort, if you don't work at cultivating that connection, you could lose it completely.
Yeah. Well, it probably wouldn't be an episode if I didn't mention Bruce Springsteen. But there's a great
what are you doing, Chris?
Where he says, we're born into this life paying for the sins of somebody else's past. I find that to be a fascinating thing about where we are, where we find ourselves as people, and the context that we're living in. So, I don't know.
Well, would that be the original sin concept?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely that. Yeah.
What is he doing? Chris, what are you doing, man?
Come on in. Called Adam, to your point, the song is called Adam Raised to Cain. So, I mean, it's, you know, it's all about that idea. So, yeah. But it's really about generational. Like, it's hard. It's difficult to escape the history that you have.
Welcome back again. Welcome back again.
It is great to be here. I had to reload my AirPods again. I don't know what's going on. Hey, but you know what? I thought of while you guys were talking, I have a something that'll tell you right off the bat, you don't even need to meet a person if they're a good person or a bad person. And here it is. Okay. And you guys have to tell me if you do it. If a person returns the shopping cart to the corral, you're a good person.
I do it.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
If you're not, I just learned something about you, and I don't even know you. The other thing I've always said too is if I'm driving down the street and I see someone throw trash just out the window, I already know where you're leaning.
That is so hard for me to understand.
Me too.
And it happens a lot on Mitchell Hill.
Yeah.
You'll be right behind a car and they'll throw out a daggone Dairy Queen bag. Just the whole thing, right? I mean, they don't even care that you're behind them. I mean, that's going back to you being nice and caring about what somebody thinks. They don't care.
You both have been in my house. I live on a major road. And every time I cut the grass, I have to go around before I cut the grass and clean up all the crap. Yesterday, it was King Dongs. I didn't even know they made King Dongs anymore. There's a King Dong wrapper and 2, like, whatever, Speedway, big Slurpee styrofoam cups thrown in my yard. What are you doing?
I do throw my apple cores out the window, though.
That's fine. I'm good with that.
The other day in Chicago, I ate an apple, and we got in the car, and I said to Brian, "Did you see a garbage can? I want to drop this off." He's like, "It's an apple, Dad. You can throw it out the window."
Biodegradable, man. Something to eat it.
Yeah. I was driving down the road, and I had Travis Burton behind me, and I just finished a banana. So I went Donkey Kong racing or whatever it is, Mario Kart, and I threw it up in the air, and it landed right in front of his car, and he got it. But, just the little things like that make a day great. Hey, I did see there was a Yale baby lab, and they had 10-month-old babies, and they did a puppet show. And in that puppet show, you had 3 puppets. You had a puppet that was trying to make it up a hill. One puppet came in and tried to help the puppet that was needing help up the hill. Another one came in and pushed him down. And eventually, of course, he makes it to the top. And then these 10-month-old babies get to choose which puppet they were because they were distinguishable differences. And an overwhelming majority picked the good puppet. And even a side note on that study from the Yale Baby Lab study was that a lot of the 10-month-old to 1-year-old babies wanted the other one punished as well. So they've either learned something at that point, they were born that blank slate, like the John Locke, I guess you align with John Locke, that they were born good, or in the first 10 months of life, they learned good from bad. I thought that was pretty interesting as well.
Some of them might have forgot where they came from quicker than the others. And we could probably have a whole conversation about whether the pushing up the hill was good or pushing down the hill was good.
Yeah. Is John Locke the tabula rasa? Is that where that comes from?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you guys didn't really get there, but what about like serial killers? When you got these kids, they're well. All right, so let's go there. All right.
Okay, I'm going to go on record. Not good.
They're not good.
Right. Not good. They probably throw trash out the window.
No, I bet they don't return. They don't draw attention to themselves.
But what about that? Like, that's next level evil, right?
Yeah.
And are they born with a little something there?
I would say, yeah. I don't know. That'd be a whole nother podcast episode.
I don't know.
I just think that's interesting. Are people born this way, that way? Or is it 100% blank slate? It's interesting with the heredity and genes and how all that would go, but I don't know. I'll tell you, the one thing I did learn today, though, Scott, is that the prevent defense loses in both footballs, which you're talking about American football.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Or
did you watch that?
Soccer. Yes, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. What a disaster.
It was a disaster.
I felt sorry for that. I wanted England to win, and I'm like, what are you doing?
That's like the stupid basketball play all coaches run, trying to get the last shot. Never works.
Never works. Or you go to that prevent defense in football, and All right, here's a serious question. I was wondering why you guys were speaking on today's topic. Do we have an obligation? Obligation may be a strong word to help people become better humans. Why I say that is I think we do a poor job of self-reflection. Like, Scott, you're a good person. I will tell you that right now.
Thank you.
When you self-reflect, you're like, well, I could have been nicer to the lady in line. I didn't need to say this or do that, and I probably should have let her go. I mean, those little things you can always cut yourself to death with little paper cuts. But do we have an obligation to try to help people be better people? And you have your family.
What do you mean by that? Help people be better? Like help other people be good, or help their life be better?
Yeah. So I think coming from an educator standpoint, we can go to at that point. Right? When you see a wrong, what kind of discussion are you having there?
Yeah.
And then like just out and about, being that example, I think that maybe you go do something it's the right thing to do, but also I'm going to let other people see me pick up 4 pieces of trash between my car and the front door of the school and throw them in the trash can. Or what if you see somebody that's just wrong? They're being wrong. You have somewhat of a relationship with you. And I would go, Brad, hey, can I talk to you, man? Say, I don't think you meant to come across like this, but when you guys were talking about some of the office talks that we've had over the years, sometimes as a friend, I feel like I welcome that. I would want people to try to help me be a better person as far as that goes. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I guess I go back to Brad's, in the big picture, sort of the idealized world, I go back to Brad's tipping strategy. If you have the opportunity to do good, then you should. Not for any goal, not for necessarily to make you a better person, but to say, just to do good. You should do good if you can. And I want to give Brad credit, but I also want to give credit to, you were saying this, Brad, about you haven't had the experience. Sadly, I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I've had a lot of people close to me pass.
Yeah.
And Aaron's sister, Patty, we had a great conversation one time about why are you because I'm prone to, I won't say whatever. I form opinions, I do things, I act, whatever. She's like, yeah, but is the world better? Like, just ask yourself, is the world better because you did that thing? And ever since we had that conversation, which I will say involved her putting really good bourbon in Diet Coke, but that's okay. It's okay. But ever since that night, did she
enjoy it though?
She did. She absolutely did. She's a wonderful person. But ever since that night, that's been like one of my guiding things in life.
Yeah.
If this upsets me, I want to do something about it. Will more good come of this, or am I doing this to appease my own self?
That's a great reflection question.
Yeah.
It's got, and Chris, I'd say yes, I do think you have an obligation, because you all know those people that thinks it's perfectly okay because I woke up in a pissy mood today to let everybody know I'm in a pissy mood today. Yeah. And I think we got an obligation to, well, you're talking about Mother Teresa earlier, Scott. I read one of her books one time, and one of the things that stood out to me, if I'm not going to say it right, but basically, if one of her sisters woke up in a pissy mood, she told them they need to stay home. The people we're working with have too much going on in their life than to deal with your pissiness.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and to me, that's an amazing thing. Like, to recognize my own fallibility and not subject other people to my fallibility, which is kind of what, stay home because you're busy.
Yeah.
Says to me, So
how are we going to grade human goodness? What's the rubric?
That's a tough one.
Well, that's why I went to like the defining, like, what does it mean to be good? And I come back to the idea that goodness equates to fitness. And it can be, so the passage I read said, fitness can be developed through choices, relationships, responses to challenges. So sadly, I'm going to go like C minus D. I don't think people are doing a good job at responding to the challenges in front of them. I think they're guided by commercialism, greed, popularity.
Yeah. I was really hoping that, I thought it would be interesting to get into when you have things like money or power thrown at you later in life. How does that change you? You're born this way, but you can look at what money does to a lot of people, and here in the last few years, you can really see what power has done to some people and some systems. That's the challenge, isn't it? To handle that, whether it be fame, local fame, in a building fame, like you're one of the most known persons in the building, or if you're known worldwide, and what money is. But it's just, and I think what's important too, you talked about having that reset question. We are going to mess up, but that reset question you got to have in life to reset. Okay, I need to back up and be thankful for the things that I'm living and have.
Yeah.
And when we don't do that, we find ourselves not being as nice and as good as people.
Yeah. Yep. I'm still trying to decide how I'm going to grade this. I was first thinking from our original question, are people born good? I don't think anybody goes and visits a newborn and says, wow, look at that fundamentally flawed creature.
Agreed.
So I was going to say A or B on that part, But then as you're going through life, you got things you got to deal with, and how people deal with them. I can't say whether we're handling things as a human species better or worse than we have in the past, but I don't think it's great. So I'd be somewhere there in the middle too, Scott. C.
Yeah. I'd go right in the middle. C. I don't know how you don't go in the middle on this, because when you're born, I'm a lot with Scott. It's the John Locke blank slate type deal. Let's see what happens based on your experiences and how they handle them. I'm the old life is 5% what happens to you and 95% how you handle it.
Oh, no doubt.
That's the way you got to live, because that's just the way it's going to be. Yeah. But hey, it's an interesting podcast. Are you ready to hear the? I have 4.
All right, what we got?
I have 4.
Yeah.
So 4. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so we started out. You guys were talking about Mother Teresa and how you both decided you would like to meet her. And I thought, how cool of a podcast would it be if you came back and talked about 2 or 3 of the people, historic people, maybe bring in a current person that you would love to meet, and what would you say to them, and what would you hope to learn from historic figures? I've said many times I was a history teacher, once a history guy, always a history guy. Man, there are so many people in life, in history, that would be so interesting to go back and interview and talk to. How cool would it be to kind of think about that, research it, play it out a little bit? That'd be a great podcast topic. Number 2.
That just brought a thought. I got a little extension on that came from what Scott was saying. I'll bring up at the end.
Okay. So the next one was constructive reflections. How do we do that? So instead of constructive criticism, just constructive reflections. Do you have something in place? Do you have somebody in place to just on that reflection in life? How do we become better persons? Because it drives me nuts that, when you hear they go, well, he's all right, he didn't kill anybody, this, that, and the other. Well, that's not good enough. I mean, how do you become a better person? And I hope in 10 years and 20 years, I'm still trying to become a better person. I don't think I'm good at it on my own. I need people to say, hey, this, and this. But so constructive reflection, a life skill that a lot of people, all of us really struggle with. All right. And then we went, you guys talked about faith and religion. I think it would be a great challenge to actually dig in and to learn what some religions believe. And I'm not talking about going on to anything personal here and what you believe and making it a podcast to try to get people to join your religions or your thoughts. But there's, and the history of religions, they've been around for thousands of years. And there are many religions in the big 3 or 4 that you could bring up. But it'd be interesting to really look into some of the various religions and talk about what's truth and what's not truth about that. There was a 60 Minutes episode on this past Sunday. They talked about where the Catholic Church in Italy in the 1950s and 60s were taking single moms, taking the babies, and they were selling them in America for the equivalent of $4,500. And the story was based on those people going back and finding their parents when they were about 40 years old. And it just talks about that whole thing. That's, faith and religion. Religion gets in the way of a lot of faith a lot of times in all denominations, I'm sure. And then the 4th one, making decisions. I listened to you talked about your brother. I've heard you talk about him all the time, Scott. So I've never met him, but I feel like I know him, which is a tribute to you. But that was a tough decision you guys talked through. I've been in some similar situations as far as that goes, and it is tough. But making decisions. Do you have a system? What are some of the toughest decisions you ever had to make? And how did you just come to your final decision as to what you're going to do? You guys are pretty wise guys for a couple of young fellas. I think it'd be beneficial and interesting to hear you talk about your systems or some mistakes or how you make decisions and some in the past that you've had to make. So let me sum them up. I love the first one. Historic or real life people right now still living that you'd love to meet. And what would that conversation entail? And what would you hope to get out of it? And what do you think would happen? Number 2 was constructive reflection. Constructive reflection. Just how do we try to grow? What are some good ways about growing into better people? We're kind of a send off from this episode for sure. And then faith and religion, kind of two different things. Religion is when you get into the Southern Baptist Seminary, and when men get involved in faith, kind of like Brad talked about a little bit too, the difference you hear in sermons compared to what you might read in a scripture. And then making decisions. Man, what about some of the big decisions you guys have had to make? And how do you do it? What's your system? Reflect on that for a week and talk about it next week. So there's your options. What do you think?
Man, those are some good ones.
Yeah. I like the first. Actually, when you said that, I wrote down dinner guest.
Okay.
That's the description.
I like that. I like that.
But I was like, does that really represent? And then when you reiterated, I was like, yeah, that really represents. Who are the 4 or 5 people I'd like to have for dinner? Like and just say, hey, I'm making this food for you. I'm cooking the brisket. Let's
make it an old fashioned, except for Mother Teresa. She probably would say, "Nice try."
Mother Teresa, she would kill that. She'd kill that old fashioned, man.
and then the other one, I really like the idea of make decisions. Like, what is your sort of process or rubric? Because I mean, we're dealing with this, trying to find an apartment in another city for my son, and it's like there's all these variables. And everything's a compromise. Like, I want to be this close to this train, but I don't want to live in this kind of neighborhood, or I can't pay this much, but I really want a bigger kitchen, or
Hey, and think about this. Making those kind of decisions today compared to 30 years ago, like there's so many more resources now. Back then, I mean,
but good and bad, because I
agree.
We're experiencing literally every facet of it is like, oh, that's important, that costs money. That's not important, that costs money. I mean, everything it's just crazy. It's just such a thing. So those are the 2 for me, the first and the fourth. Those are the ones I like the most.
And I think you could combine 2 and 4. Constructive reflections and making decisions, but I like number 1 also, and what I thought about, and some of the things you shared in this podcast, Scott, and I appreciated you doing that, and I've heard you share them before, but I was trying to think, I don't know if this makes sense, but kind of like a deathless presence, people that are gone in our life, but we knew them in our life, that still there's something with them, that's still with us. Maybe something they said, or maybe something you learned from them, or something like that.
I like
that could fall in there with that topic of who we'd like to talk to, that we, and share some of those things.
I have a person that comes to mind for me. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's a good premise.
I mean, I can't really decide. I like the connection between 2 and 4. Maybe that means what do we condense that to 4? When you were talking for 2, I wrote down old dog, new tricks.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to talk about, habits that you have that you wish you didn't have, or that you want to change, or how you change habits and how you reflect. I don't know. There's all kinds of things that could come in there. Man, this is tough. I like them all.
I like that 2 and 4. I like that you pointed out the 2 and 4 connect. So maybe that means that's what we go with.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Maybe that makes it. Like some sort of idea of like, how do we decide what is our reflection process, and does that serve us well? I think. I mean, we all know we've all been integral in various degrees with decisions that had consequences. I mean, if I'm being perfectly candid, consequences for schools, classrooms, and kids. Did we do the right thing in making those decisions?
So how to make decisions? Is that what we'd call this? How we make decisions. How we
just making decisions.
Making decisions.
Constructive criticism, constructive reflection.
Yeah,
and you could bring that into some personal growth based on some bad decisions usually.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're bad. They're just, I mean,
they're the decisions you made.
To your point, Chris, I mean,
might not have been the correct decision, but
right. Well, I mean, Chris said it about me. I'll say it about you guys. You're good people. So you did not make bad decisions in that you were like, you selfish MFer, da, da, da. I'm never going to say that about either of you because it's simply not true. But there were variables that you considered that I think that are of merit. And I think those are probably worth having some conversations about. So,
I like it.
Isn't that what we're about?
Making decisions.
Making decisions. Yeah.
Next week. I just want to remind everybody, if you do enjoy our podcast and whatever platform you're listening on, please take the time to rate and review and maybe even make a comment. It helps out, and share it with your friends.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you guys for listening. Thanks.